swift yet each detail etched into my memory for eternity. I pushed his door open without a sound under the impression that he was lost in slumber. Instead, I stood paralyzed by the scene unfolding before my eyes. My stepson lay sprawled on the bed, legs spread, his hand gripping the largest object I had ever encountered. It pulsed beneath his fingers, substantial and weighty, measuring effortlessly over 16 inches. Ought to have walked away. Ought to have shut the door behind me and stepped away. Yet I remained. A shadowy hunger awakened within me. My heart quickened. My breath hitched. As I drew nearer, I found myself entranced. He raised his gaze to meet mine, a sly grin playing at the corners of his lips. In silence he beckoned me closer, and the weight of shame dissolved into warmth. My fingers quivered as I extended my hand toward him. He let out a low groan as I encircled him with my hand, grappling to encompass every inch of him. The burden was overwhelming for merely his hands to bear. In that dark, uncharted instant, he found himself in need, and I, against all reason, extended my hand. Before we delve further into this narrative, I wish to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to all who have chosen to subscribe to this channel. Your support is invaluable to me. Additionally, we encourage you to participate and express your insights in the comments section below. I am eager to know your thoughts as the narrative progresses. Allow me to draw you further into the night that irrevocably altered the course of my existence. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Claire. The age of 36, I find myself nestled in the serene suburbs of Wisconsin, embracing the role of a housewife. On the surface, my life seemed flawless. Cozy abode, diligent partner, a stepson nearing the completion of his college journey. Husband Mark frequently journeyed for work, leaving me to navigate the solitude of most nights alone. Occupied the stillness with cleaning, baking, gardening, anything to combat the solitude. When Mark wed me 3 years back, I believed I had at last discovered a sense of stability. Beneath the facade, our marriage lay frozen and rigid. Then there was Logan, a 19-year-old with a tall stature and golden hair, his physique sculpted through countless hours spent in the gym. He embodied the essence of youthful defiance that his father sought to stifle. Our conversations were limited to mere pleasantries until that fateful day. Initially, the night unfolded in an unremarkable manner. The rain danced softly upon the windows, while the air within the house was infused with the warm scent of vanilla candles. As the evening unfolded, I found myself nestled on the couch, lost in the pages of a novel, striving to fend off the familiar pang of loneliness that threatened to seep in once more. Mark had reached out to inform me that his flight was postponed. He would not return until the following day. I made the choice to ascend the stairs ahead of time. As I walked by Logan's door, an unusual sound caught my attention. A soft, anguished moan. A shiver of alarm coursed up my spine. Did he sustain any injuries? Swung the door open, my mind a blank canvas, and there he stood. Logan lay across the bed, his body relaxed yet taut, fingers gliding over a formidable presence that seemed to challenge the very laws of nature. Breath caught in my throat, my mouth became parched. I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, to seek refuge from it. Yet I remained motionless, captivated. He caught sight of me. He pressed on, unwavering, his serene gaze locked onto mine, challenging me, playfully provoking me. A wave of Warmth surged between my legs. Feeling so intense it left me lightheaded. "Come here," he whispered, his voice heavy and growly. I ought to have escaped. My bare feet glided toward him, as though drawn by an unseen force. With each step my heart raced with increasing intensity. I perched on the brink of his bed, my fingers quivering as they lingered just above him. "Allow me to assist you," I offered, my voices scarcely audible. I encircled my hand around his impressive size. The warmth of his presence scorched my flesh. He let out a sharp hiss through clenched teeth as my thumb grazed the tender underside. His size overwhelmed my single hand, compelling me to employ both as I gradually glided up and down, savoring the sensation of every vein, every pulse. The chamber whirled with an exhilarating sense of the illicit. His breaths became increasingly labored. He bit his lip, his hips arching into my. Before I fully grasped my actions, I found myself leaning down, placing a kiss upon the swollen head. He let out a low groan, his fingers tangling in my hair, directing me with a firm yet gentle touch. Shame should have washed over me. I ought to have experienced guilt. What consumed me was an insatiable, searing hunger. Delved into his essence, savored every moment, and became utterly entwined with him. His aroma, his whispers, his imposing presence engulfed me. My body reacted, unabashedly, yearning, pleading for more. As he finally let go with a deep, guttural growl, I eagerly consumed every drop, hungrily accepting what he offered. I withdrew gradually, brushing my lips, my heart pounding fiercely within my chest. Logan's eyes shimmered with a shadowy intensity, exuding a sense of ownership. "That was merely the beginning," he murmured, his tone dark and foreboding. In that fleeting moment, I realized that retreat was no longer an option. The threshold had been breached, and everything would forever be altered. The morning sun poured through the windows, radiating warmth and brightness, yet I was enveloped in a chilling dread that seeped deep into my very bones. As I reclined in solitude, the sheets twisted around my legs. My body throbbed with the remnants of the previous night's escapades. Gazed at the ceiling, attempting to convince myself that it had all been a fleeting nightmare, a dreadful and embarrassing illusion, destined to fade with the dawn of a new day. Yet it had been genuine. Each caress, every whisper, every breath we shared in secret. It had transpired, and there was no reversing the course of events. I drew the blankets tightly around my head, yearning to vanish from existence. How could I possibly meet Logan's gaze again? How could I confront Mark when he returned home this evening, burdened by the repugnant secret etched upon my skin? I lingered in bed longer than I typically would, only mustering the will to rise when the house fell into a quiet that assured me Logan had left. Avoiding him became a necessity. Sought to erase the memories. I stood under the relentless cascade of hot water, scrubbing my skin until it felt. Yet the memories persisted, clinging to me like a second skin. Sound of Logan's voice as he called my name was intoxicating. His hands tangled in my hair, a blend of authority and longing. I desired it just as intensely, perhaps even more so. Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, yet I held them back with unwavering resolve. Flurry of movement, I slipped into a cozy sweater and a pair of jeans, hastily gathering my hair into a carefree bun. I would prepare breakfast, occupy myself with various tasks, and by the time Mark came back, life would resume its usual rhythm. Reassured myself, I entered the kitchen, and froze in place. Logan lounged at the counter bare-chested with a bowl of cereal awaiting his attention. His sun-kissed skin radiated in the morning, light muscles undulating with each effortless motion. His hair clung to his forehead, damp from a recent shower, tousled and youthful, yet there was nothing youthful in the gaze he directed towards me. His gaze ensnared mine, measured and intentional, tracing the contours of my form with a languid confidence. My face ignited with a searing heat. I averted my eyes and occupied myself with the fridge, feigning a search for something elusive. "Good morning, Claire," he remarked, his voice laced with a playful mirth. Offered a quiet greeting, my back turned to him. My hands quivered with anticipation as I retrieved a carton of. "You look different today," he remarked, a playful lilt in his voice. With a sense of ease radiating warmth, I shut the fridge door with more force than required. "Eat your breakfast," I said, my tone more cutting than I had meant it to be. He let out a soft chuckle, the sound reverberating through me and sending shivers down my spine. He whispered, a hint of sensitivity in his voice. I clumsily handled the eggs, breaking two into the sizzling pan. Focused intently on the stove, silently urging him to depart to grant me a moment of solitude to inhale deeply. Yet I sensed him draw nearer. His presence hovered just behind me, charged with an unsettling energy. "There's no need for pretense, Claire," he said, her voice lowered, taking on a tender, almost personal quality. "I am aware that you found pleasure in it." The spatula slipped from my grasp, my hands balling into tight fists. "Stop," I implored, my voice quaking with emotion. "Let us refrain from discussing it." Was an error. I pivoted to confront him, determined to establish my authority, to reaffirm the limits we had broken. Yet upon locking gazes with him, my determination shattered. In his eyes, there lingered no hint of regret, no trace of shame, only an intense searing hunger. "You want it again," he said, stepping closer, his hand grazing my lip. I inhaled sharply, the touch igniting a blaze within my senses. Loathed myself for the way my body so readily surrendered, leaning into him, yearning for him. "No," I murmured, yet the sound felt feeble even to my own ears. He smiled, fully aware that victory was his. He pushed me against the counter, his hands gliding beneath my sweater, fingers playfully exploring the delicate skin of my waist. Let out a soft whimper, my body instinctively arching against him. "You belong to me now," he declared, his voice growly with a desperate yearning. "Last night, Claire, you overstepped the boundaries. There is no turning back." I shook my head, my eyes brimming with tears. Yet when his lips met mine, every objection faded away, silenced before they could escape my mouth. His mouth was insistent, consuming, robbing each breath from my lungs. His hands explored with a boldness that revealed an unsettling familiarity with my form. I surrendered to him, my fingers weaving through his damp hair, drawing him nearer, craving him with a desperation I had never known. He hoisted me onto the counter, with ease parting my legs and positioning himself between them. Sighed into his mouth, my fingers gripping his bare shoulders, the kitchen resonating with the echoes of our fervent kisses, our uneven breaths, the gentle collision of skin against skin. Never before had I experienced such a vivid sense of existence, such a profound desire, and such an overwhelming lack of control. He entered me gradually and profoundly, The sensation was almost overwhelming, prompting a gasp to escape my lips while my head tilted back. He awakened parts of me that Mark never touched, exploring depths I had yet to discover. Logan surged forward with the wild enthusiasm of youth, each movement reverberating through my very being. I held on to him tightly, surrendering to the undulating waves of ecstasy, becoming utterly lost. In the moment, the counter trembled beneath us, dishes cascaded to the ground, echoing in the recesses of my but I understood the madness of it, all the peril that loomed, yet I found myself indifferent. Nothing else held significance except for the emotions he stirred within me. As we finally sank into one another, breathless and trembling, the chaos of the kitchen swirling around us, a realization dawned upon me, something far more chilling than the act we had just committed. Felt no regret, not even the slightest hint of it, and that frightened me more than anything else. Upon Mark's return that evening, the house lay enveloped in profound silence. I observed him from the threshold of the kitchen, my heart pounding fiercely within my chest. His smile lit up the room as he caught sight of me, weary yet content, placing his briefcase aside and welcoming me with open arms for a warm embrace. Paused for a fleeting moment, teetering on the edge of decision before surrendering to his allure. He embraced me with fervor, planting a tender kiss on the side of my head, softly whispering just how deeply he had longed for my presence. Compelled myself to smile, to nod, to engage. Yet within I sensed I was sinking beneath the weight of it all. His scent, his touch, everything about him now felt like an enigma marred by the hidden truth I harbored within. Logan lingered on the staircase, his gaze deep and inscrutable. For a brief moment our eyes locked, and 1,000 knots twisted in my stomach. Swiftly distanced myself from Mark, feigning preoccupation with the dinner preparations. Crave solitude, moment to gather my thoughts. The dinner felt like an ordeal. Mark spoke animatedly about his trip, completely unaware of the heavy, oppressive tension enveloping the room. I nodded, chuckled at the appropriate intervals, yet the flavors of the food eluded my senses. Logan sat opposite me, his foot grazing mine beneath the table, a mischievous smirk dancing on his lips. I recoiled, sending my glass of wine tumbling to the floor. Mark sprang to my aid, worry etched on his face while I mumbled my apologies, finding mere clumsiness. Beneath the surface, a tide of panic surged within me. Enduring another night of this nature was beyond my capacity. Once dinner had concluded, Mark took his leave to indulge in a refreshing shower. As soon as he vanished up the stairs, Logan trapped me in the hallway, his body pressed against mine, pinning me to the wall. "I want you again," he whispered against my ear, his hand gliding up my thigh. I pushed him aside, a tumult of fear and guilt coiling within me. "Cease this at once," I whispered sharply. "He is upstairs. Feels amiss. It has always felt to miss." Logan chuckled quietly, a subtle, derisive note in his voice. "You adore it," he remarked. "You thrive on the pearl. You relish the vitality I bring into your life." Hot tears stung my eyes. I loathed him, yet my self-loathing ran deeper. "Still, you are but a child," I wept. "You are merely a foolish and impulsive young man." His expression shifted, the playful arrogance evaporating in a heartbeat. "You didn't think I was a boy when you were screaming my name in the kitchen," he said, his voice sharp and icy. Before I could rein in my impulse, my hand met his face with a sharp crack. A sharp crack reverberated through the hall. He brushed his fingers against his cheek, then smiled, a slow and perilous curve of his lips. "You will return to me," he stated plainly. "Resistance is futile." He pivoted and vanished into the living room, leaving me quaking against the wall. I ascended the stairs with a sense of urgency, securing the bathroom door behind me. As I descended to the ground, tears streamed down my face, my hands cradling my anguish. What had I wrought? What sort of woman had I transformed into? I gazed into the mirror, my visage ghostly and tormented, my eyes puffy with remorse. The woman gazing back at me was a stranger, her features foreign and unrecognizable. As the days morphed into weeks, the atmosphere within the house thickened with an unbearable tension. Logan persisted in his torment, his fingers brushing against me when Mark's gaze was elsewhere, his hushed, scandalous promises slipping into my ear unheard by anyone else. And with each encounter my body turned traitor. I loathed him for it, but my self-loathing ran even deeper. Mark sensed the chasm between us. He made attempts to bridge it, to connect, yet I rebuffed him time and time again. The burden of my secret was becoming unbearable, yet I lacked the courage to reveal it until that fateful night when everything unraveled. The hour was late. Mark had ventured out for drinks with a few colleagues. In the solitude of the house, I nestled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, attempting to immerse myself in a movie, striving to capture a sense of normalcy. Logan stood in the doorway, bare-chested, clad solely in a pair of sagging sweatpants. He stood still, my heart pounding fiercely within my chest. He remained silent, merely gazing at me, his eyes ablaze with desire, and like a moth drawn to a flame, I found myself consumed by him. With 3 purposeful strides he traversed the room, yanked the blanket away from me, and enveloped me in his embrace. His lips descended upon mine, and in that moment I surrendered completely. We found ourselves not in the bedroom but right there on the He seized me once more with a raw urgency, asserting his possession as if I were his to command. The sound of the front door creaking open barely registered with me. Mark's voice barely reached me as he called out my name. Logan listened. He withdrew from my presence just as Mark entered the living room. In that fleeting instant, time seemed to pause and the world held its breath. Mark gazed at us, his expression a blend of disbelief and terror. He regarded my untidy attire, the remorse etched across my features, and the unrefined pleasure lingering in Logan's grin. Comprehension emerged gradually. With a sense of struggle, Mark recoiled, as though he had been dealt a blow. "Claire," he whispered, his voice trembling as tears cascaded down my cheek. I attempted to articulate my thoughts, to offer an explanation. Yet no words seemed adequate, no justifications capable of undoing my actions. Mark spun on his heel and bolted from the house. The door, crashing shut in his wake, fell to the floor, tears streaming down my face, my entire being trembling with sorrow. Logan loomed above me, his expression a mystery. "This was always destined to occur," he murmured softly. "You simply never wished to acknowledge it." I shouted at him to leave. He departed in silence without uttering a single word. As I lingered on the living room floor, the dawn broke, leaving me in solitude with my guilt, my shame, and the fragmented remnants of my existence. Mark never returned. Have lost him. Have lost everything, and the weight of it all rests squarely on my shoulders.